All right. So we are here for the attendance form letters part 1. And I need to just figure out this little goofball here. I'm going to get this in full screen over here. Present. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. So I am stepping in. Hi, everyone. I'm stepping in for Brett Joyce here today. My name is Sarah Freed, and he graciously called me the custom report card extraordinaire. I work on the forms team here in JMC and have done some of these custom attendance form letters. So lucky you get me today. So why are we here? Well, today's all about creating and sending attendance and period attendance letters right through JMC. Here's what's on the agenda for this part 1. We are going to talk about editing problem behaviors, editing custom discipline actions, creating an absent tardy form letter using period attendance, and also creating an absent tardy form letter using AM, PM attendance, so half day, full day attendance. So sometimes attendance issues get to the point that they warrant a note home to families. In JMC, the attendance, discipline, and the form designer modules all work together to seamlessly communicate and avoid unnecessary paperwork. And here's how. They create a discipline record that corresponds with attendance, so JMC offer users can track those attendance events that warrant a note home. Users can perform a variety of additional discipline actions after the letter has been sent. The attendance module works in conjunction with the custom form designer to automatically send a form letter to the contacts of students who meet the criteria. That's an awesome thing. You don't have to print a report to figure that out. And that will be talked about in part 2, the webinar next week. And you can also use the form designer to create fully customizable attendance form letter templates, which will merge live data when printed. And that's what I'm going to specifically talk about today. But first, we're going to talk about editing problem behaviors in the discipline module. So we at JMC know that not every solution is one size fits all. Rarely in life is that ever an issue. Therefore, when you need to add problem behaviors to JMC discipline, we've made it easy for you by allowing the office team to enter a vast number of user-defined problem behaviors, including attendance issues, in just a few steps. We'll walk through those steps here. So first, you're going to go to discipline and go to edit or go to data, discipline, data, edit problem behaviors in JMC Office to add those user-defined sets of attendance problem behaviors that you want to use for student discipline records. And to do that, you're going to click the edit link for a row that doesn't currently contain a problem behavior. Then you're going to enter the new problem behavior name in the edit field. Step 3 is to click that update link for that row to save the changes, or you can always hit the cancel link to discard those changes. And just a little helpful tip here is that marking a predefined, I know we're talking about user defined, but marking in this predefined problem behaviors list, if you mark it as frequently used, that sorts those problem behaviors to the top of the list when filling out a student discipline record. Okay, so let's take a live look at adding those discipline problem behaviors. All right, we're just going to use right like this. So we're going to go to discipline, data, edit problem behaviors. Okay, and then we're going to go down into this user-defined problem behaviors because we are adding those in. Okay, so we're going to go to this row right here. 16 doesn't have any. I'm just going to hit edit. You're going to type in what you want to type in. So I would say this is going to be attendance violation letter, and I'm going to say 3 absences. Now then I'm going to say update, and there we have it. It's really, really easy. Okay.
So I'd like to point out while you're going through this, appreciate that. Yeah. If you ever have any questions, folks, feel free to use that Q&A chat feature, and Sarah can address the questions as you go. So.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jake. Do we have any questions on editing problem behaviors? Using that chat feature. Okay.
Looks like we're good to go on questions. I'd just like to throw in there the reason we included the discipline portion of this within the context of creating this letter in the first place is this might be your action that you would take. So this is kind of where the discipline module works in conjunction with our form letters for attendance purposes. So if you don't have that action, or if you don't have that that problem behavior, you might want to add that to start. But
perfect. And you know what? I appreciate that, because I kind of skipped ahead, didn't I? Like, in order for all of those modules to work together to automatically send out the letters that we're going to be creating, you need to set up the behavior that we have. And next, I'm going to show you how to set up the action that you would take for it. And while I'm talking about the action, I'm going to show you something that we need to remember, because you want to make sure that it is specific to the behavior or action that you're going to do. Because when you put in that violation, like if we say attendance violation letter, we want to make sure that we are using like 3 absence, 5 absence, 7 absences, whatever your criteria is on that, so that we know exactly which one we're using. Because then when we set up our action in this section, we can tie it right to that behavior. And so we know exactly what's happening. Okay, so we're going to go through and edit that custom discipline action here. So in JMC's discipline module, the action you take in response to a student's behavior is called an action. A list of common predefined actions are available for your use, just like those predefined behaviors. But we know you probably have actions that are specific to your school, so we have plenty of space to add your own user-defined actions to the list. And that communication home might just be the action needed to address the behavior. So to start customizing the list of actions, once again, you log in to JMC Office and head to Discipline Data, and then it's going to be Edit Actions this time, right underneath Edit Problem Behaviors. And it's the same steps. You click on Edit where there's an empty row, and you enter a name for the action in the appropriate field under the name column. And then you're going to click. So first of all, we entered attendance letter sent here. And I would say we would want to even be more specific and say like 3 unexcused letter, or 4 unexcused, or 3 absence, 4 absence. So we know, and if you're going to do tardies then too, you could do 3 tardies, 5 tardies, whatever, once again, whatever your criteria is. And then you would click that update link to save that information, or click the cancel to negate all of that. We do recommend, as a helpful tip, to review the predefined actions before adding your own actions down here to avoid duplications between the 2 lists. Okay, so let's take a live look at that. We're going to go into here. Once again, we're at the home page. We go to Discipline, Data, and we go to Edit Actions. And here we go. We would kind of peruse this one to make sure that we don't have one that we want that's up here already. We're going to find an empty, I'll go down here a little bit more. We're going to find an empty one. See, we've got a lot of unexcused tardies letters in here for semester 1, semester 2 here. We're going to say attendance letter sent, 3 absences. Okay, I'm going to update, and there I have it. And it's as honestly as easy as that to set up those actions and behaviors. All right, so do we have any questions?
Yeah, we actually do have one question, great question from Kelly Carlberg coming in. Will this work for us to send letters if we don't use the discipline module?
Let me see. Jake, do you know that answer?
So yeah, I actually had a chance to think about this a little bit. I guess it would depend on your level of usage with the discipline module. Obviously, the sending the discipline letters has to correspond with the discipline module on the office end. So you would be using it to that degree. But if you use the discipline module for nothing else other than sending letters, then you wouldn't have to necessarily use it. If you're wondering, do teachers need to have access to the discipline module in order for you to use to send these form letters through the discipline module? No, absolutely not. Your teachers don't have to use this. You don't actually have to use the discipline module for anything but attendance letters if you so choose. So this might also be a great introductory way to get you started with the discipline module if you don't use it at all. Setting up these attendance letters with the discipline module. So I hope that answers your question. If not, hit us back and hit us back with a follow-up and we can expand on that. But
Perfect. Thanks, Jake.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, we'll keep on going then. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Okay. All right. So now we get into how do we actually, that's kind of the behind the scenes setup that we just went through with those problem behaviors and with those actions. You set those up. So now we're going to talk about creating an absent tardy form letter using period attendance. So we're going to go into creating an absent tardy form letter using period attendance. Then we'll talk about AM, PM attendance. And then in part 2, we talk about how to merge all of those things together to make them work for you. So first of all, your team has successfully used period attendance to take attendance. Well, now it's time to create and print those absence and tardy period attendance form letters in JMC Office. You can utilize JMC's Form Designer to create a fully customizable period attendance form letter. So you're going to begin creating your period attendance form letters by logging into JMC Office and heading to Form Designer Student Info Forms. Okay, then you're going to click the new form button up here to begin creating your new absent or tardy form. You can select a blank form in here. This is a template here. So you click on that, you're going to select a blank form or an existing form. Once you have one in there, it's really easy to use that as your template. Using that drop-down list. Then you're going to enter or edit the name of the form in the Enter Form Name field to give the form a descriptive name for future editing. And then easy, you click the Save button to select that form template and accept the form name, or there's always a Cancel button to discard your changes. All right, now we're going to actually get that stuff, that information on the form. So you're going to click and drag form items from this left-hand side list to add them to the form. It's similar if you've done anything with standards and benchmarks or custom report cards or any other student list. You have all of this information and you're going to drag that over onto the form. So what's specific to these attendance form letters is that you click and drag this period attendance absences or period attendance tardies over onto the form to include your excused, unexcused, or both for absences or tardies for specific data and reasons. And then we get that onto the form. Now we have to kind of customize it, right? So you're going to select from, day two, and the reasons from the appropriate boxes to set the specific attendance criteria in the Select Attendance Criteria pop-up. Now, this is usually the first day of school to the last day of Q1, or it's a semester. And then most oftentimes, schools will select or just, it defaults to selecting all of the reasons. And most of the time, schools will keep all of the reasons on there. Then you can select the excused radio button, the unexcused radio button, or both to identify which type of absence or tardy you want to include on this form. Then you're going to enter the range of excused or unexcused absences or tardies. Do you want it greater than equal to 5, 7, 3, whatever you want? There's a range in there. Then you're going to select if that range refers to the total number of period absences or a specific period from the total type drop-down list. And then you're going to select a specific period. If you do choose for a period, you're going to choose a specific period to check in there. You can put all, but sometimes schools will want to maybe check just period 1. So that's what we would do there. Then we're going to place a check mark in the include student detail checkbox if you want to include a detailed list of the student's attendance on the form letter when printed. And you're going to place a check mark in the include summary checkbox if you want to include a summary of the student's attendance on the form letter when printed. So you don't have to include either one of those. You can include both. You can choose which one you want. And I would recommend just clicking one of them and printing out one just to see what it looks like and see if that's the information you want. And then you can just adjust that as you go. And then you want to click the save button to save the attendance criteria to the form letter, or the cancel button to discard the changes and start over. All right, we're almost done here. Then you're going to select the portrait or landscape radio button to indicate the orientation of that letter. You're going to select letter or legal to indicate the size of the paper that you want to print the form letter on. And you're going to, if you want to include a mailing label, you can include mailing label on that, or check the include mailing label checkbox to have the primary contact's address printed on the form when using windowed envelopes. And then once again, you're going to click save to save your absent tardy period attendance form letter. All right. So I'm going to get ready to do a live look here at creating an absent tardy form letter using period attendance. So this is where you would go right here to Form Designer, Student Info Forms. And I'm going to extend this a little bit so I can get more information on here. We're going to use a new form, okay? But here's that select form template. You can go in here. We've got a number of demos in here. And then, well, this is our demo, one of our demo sites. So we've got a lot of other information or a lot of other forms in here. But once you have some forms in here, you're going to have a list like this, and you can choose from a list to use as a template. So we're going to do absence 3 attendance letter. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to say letter right there. And then we click that save button, and here it pops on, and this is our absent 3 letter. I'm doing for 3 absences. So the nuts and bolts I'm going to throw at you first, okay? Hold on. There we go. We're going to do absences. So we're going to just click, hold down, and drag this onto the form, okay? And it's going to automatically pop up. We're going to say we're going from, you know what, this was our first day of school, June 24th, and we're going to go down to, we'll do December. We're going to do a Friday. I'm choosing all of these reasons. I'm just going to keep all of those on. And then we're going to say both unexcused and excused. And we're going to say greater than equal to 3, because I want my absent 3. This is once my student gets 3 absences. I'm going to keep it for total here and all periods. And then we're going to include that student detail and include student summary. And I'm just going to click save. Now this is going to be at the bottom of your form. You want that at the bottom because that's going, you don't want it, it's not printing up here. It's going to be printing on that second page. And so we've got, that's all of the information for your, the students at attendance, I should say, dependent on what criteria you chose in that formatting box. Okay. So now the other thing that I do need to show you is how to get this other stuff on here, right? There's other information you probably want to write on there. So we swing way up to here. And this is kind of going into how to use Form Designer. But I'm going to tell you how to use Form Designer specifically for these absent or attendance letters. So you can drag a text box over here. Okay, and I'm going to just write up here. So to get a text box and to get to write into that, you want to double click into this text box. We're going to write attendance letter up in here in this text box. So anytime we bring something over onto this page, if you right click or control click in it, you get this formatting box that tells you, or that shows you and lets you determine what you want to do for, or how you want to change that text in that text box. So we're going to just keep it as Arial. I'll bold it. I'm going to align it center, and I'm going to put a big frame around it. Okay. And you can also change the size, the font, all of those different things right in here. And I'm going to click save. So I have a saved form here. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to bring over another text box. There we go. And I'm going to start writing, dear guardian, right? And this letter is to inform you that your student has gotten more than 3 absences. And then you would keep going and type whatever you want from your school, what the information you want on there. If there is like consequences, do your guardians, your parents and families need to call the school? Do you need to set up a meeting? You can say how important being present at school and in class is. Whatever information you want to put on there, you can put in text boxes here. All right. If you need to go in and change text in there, you can once again double click in there and just use your arrows to move around and find where you need to change that wording or edits. Okay, I'm going to click save. You can also put current date up here. That will show the current date that you are printing this form. You can put a student photo, school year, name, like your student, the student's first and last name, and that will all, they're placeholders on that form. So they will all fill in according to which student you are printing. So I'm just going to click save there again, and I'm going to go back over to here and ask if there's any questions about creating an absent tardy form letter using period attendance.
Folks, you just got a master class in it right there. You have one question that popped up.
Okay.
I will say I'd like to add a couple things, troubleshooting things. You're going to want to have a stable internet connection, and hardwired into the internet is probably best for using the form designer. And something that I noticed Sarah do just as she was creating that is she continually saved it. So she saved it multiple times. It's not exactly like a Google Doc, so it doesn't necessarily save with every movement that you make, but definitely after every item that you add, I would click that save button just so it keeps your place. The other thing that I would add is when you are, okay, yeah, thanks. That
Yeah,
helped.
you're welcome.
When you're adding a text box, you'll want to type into the text box. You're not going to necessarily be able to copy and paste from, say, a Word document or maybe a Google Doc or something like that, just because there are some encryption issues. So if you're running into errors because you've tried to copy and paste some items in, it might not work out for you. But we had one question from Haley Finn that asks, if I have a form that I created in Word, is there a way to insert it so I don't have to retype everything? I think I just kind of answered that, but yeah, Sarah, if you have any insight as to that.
I would just, I would just put the, I would put the effort in just to type it in. You can try to copy and paste, but like Jake said, depending on where you're where the document was created. It doesn't always communicate very well with the form designer. And so you'll get some odd icons in there or symbols. So I would go ahead and put that effort in just to type the one, to type it in. And then I can show you how to use. So once we have all that main type or main content on there, how to copy using a template.
Yeah.
Which makes it really easy, because then you just have to edit the what you've typed in, instead of, retyping like 5 forms. Does that make sense?
Sure does. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. I was also going to add, we have helped create Spanish attendance letters also, because you can, change your keyboard to a Spanish keyboard, and this is just a text box. So you can type in Spanish text also. I know we have a number of schools that have lots of Spanish speaking folks, Spanish as their first language, right? English as their second language. And so they want to make sure that they're communicating with their families in the most effective way they can. So they have Spanish attendance letters also. Yep. Once again, too, you can just readjust these sizes. I'm going to remove this, but and you can make this really large, very small. You can make multiple boxes, however you want to do that, but that's how you would adjust those too. Okay.
Wonderful. Looks
right.
good.
Great. Well, then we'll keep on going to keep. Oh, there we go. I'm going to have this figured out by the end, everybody. All right. So we're going to talk about creating then an absent tardy form letter using AM/PM attendance. So does your school record AM/PM attendance and need to send a letter home to families? You can utilize JMC's Form Designer to create a fully customizable AM/PM attendance form letter. It includes the type of absence or tardy for a selected time period with criteria you can set yourself. So you would begin creating these attendance form letters by logging into JMC Office and heading to Form Designer, Student Info Forms once again. And then you're going to click the New Form button to begin creating your new absent tardy form. And you would select a blank form to begin fresh, or an existing form to use as a template, just as we explained in that other one, using that Select Form Template drop-down list. And you can name your new AM/PM attendance form. You can enter or edit the name of the form in that Enter Form Name drop-down list, and click the Save button to select the form template, or click Cancel to discard your changes. Then we're going to add items to your form again. The same way that we walked through that last process, you click and drag form items from the left-hand side list to add them to the form. And you would click this AM/PM attend absences or AM/PM attend tardies, depending on if you want to use absences or tardies. And you can include excused, unexcused, or both. All right, then you're going to select the day from and the day to on this one from the appropriate boxes to set the specific attendance criteria in the select attendance criteria pop-up that comes up. You're going to select the excused, unexcused, or both radio buttons to identify which type of absence or tardy to include on the form. And you're going to enter the range of excused or unexcused absences or tardies in this field over here, once again. And then you're going to place a check mark in the only count full days checkbox if you only want to include full days of absences on the form letter. And then just like that last, the period attendance ones, you can include student detail and you can include summary. That's all up to your school's discretion. All right, then you're going to click the Save button to save the attendance criteria to the form letter, or the Cancel button to discard your changes. And then you can repeat steps 1 through 13 to add tardies onto a form by creating a new form, but you can use the attendance letter you just created as the template. All right, Then we're also going to select the portrait or landscape radio button to indicate the orientation of your letter. You're going to choose the letter or legal radio button to determine what size paper you're printing this on. And you can add a checkbox or check mark to the checkbox, include mailing label if you want to include the primary contact's address on the form when using windowed envelopes. Then once again, you click the save button to save your form letters. But as Jake was mentioning, you want to click the save button as you're doing it.
That's right.
I hear somebody. Do you have a question? No. Okay. Just a brief moment of unmuted. So we're going to take a live look at creating an absent tardy form letter using AM PM attendance. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it's basically the same. Okay, so I'm going to just save this. We're going to go into, once again, Form Designer, and we go to Student Info Forms. We're going to select a new form. And I can show you, I'm a double duty here because we'll select, say I have this absent 3 letter here. And this is all typed in, right? I can select a new form and I'm going to use that one, absent 3 letter as my template. Okay. And I'm going to say, I'm going to make this as my absent 5 letter with AM PM. So I'm going to say save, and now it changes that name up here. That's the form I want to be working in. And I'm going to say, this is the same stuff. I would keep that in, but then I would go into my text box and I would change that to my student. Your student has more than 5 absences. Okay. So now down here though, I'm going to actually just delete that. And I'm going to go grab my new one. So I'm going to say, this is going to be AM, PM attendance absences. We're going to go from Thursday all the way down to December, I want a Friday, the 3rd. I'm going to say I'm just going to do unexcused on this one. And we're going to do 5 in here because that's what I labeled it as, my absent 5. And then I'm not going to only count full days. And I'll leave that student detail. So now I've got this, and it does tell you somewhat of that information right here. So we have, this is greater than equal to 5, unexcused, and the date range is 6/24 to 12/3. So if I forget what I've done, I can look on that. I can also double click on that box and it brings it right on up. So that would be an easy way for you to, here, I'm going to scroll up here. If we want to do an absent 7, right? Okay, this student has more than, we have our criteria set at school that we want to send out a letter at 3, 5, and 7. I'm going to change this to absent 7 letter. I'm going to hit save. This would be a majority of the same, the same typing, but there might be a couple different things you want to change in there. Like at 7 absences, I want parents to call the school. So I would write that in there or something. I would come down here and double click on that. I'm going to change this to 7. And I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to save this letter. And now it's going to be greater than equal to 7 attached to the absent 7 letter. Okay. Any questions about that while I have that up?
Looking good.
Great. Oh, wrong one. Wrong way here. There we go. Present here. All right. And that is it for me then. But we have an upcoming webinar schedule coming up here. You can sign up for these via the office or teacher homepage or use the in-app help widget and search for December weekly webinars. And we've got these December, next week is going to be absent and tardy letters setup part 2, how you discipline integration and then printing forms. So if you are interested in using these letters, I highly, highly, highly recommend attending next week because that's going to show you how to integrate all of those things together. and to save you time. And then upcoming in December, we have managing contacts part 1, entering contacts, and then managing contacts part 2, entering separated couples. And then December, the last week in December, we don't have a weekly webinar, just have a great winter break. And it's back, folks. Now through December 2021, we're offering schools a discount to refer their friends. For every school you refer to JMC that signs up for our software, we'll give you each a $500 scholarship for your district. And if you have questions, you can email our sales team for more details. But that December 2021, we've got, well, it's December 1st today, so you have 1 month to refer your friends. And we are also hiring for client service specialists, looking for 6 passionate part-time client service specialists in Nebraska, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. As a client service specialist, you'll develop meaningful relationships with our users through communication, training, and support. In return, we offer a competitive salary and the opportunity to work remotely and to work with Brett Joyce. Read the full job posting for further details. To apply, you can email your resume and a letter of introduction to hr@jmcinc.com. with job application in the subject line. And stay social with us. A great way to stay up to date on all things JMC is through our social media presence. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn at OnlineJMC, or our blog, jmcinc.com/news. And thanks for being part of this webinar. And as always, thanks for choosing JMC.